Yep.
All right, so I'm now going to handle the board after it's been in the bath, and honestly, I don't want my clothes to get soaked in black ink. So I put on the lab coat. And this stage is very vital that you take your time and think about what it is you're going to do. Before I handle this last glove and touch the control panel, I'm going to hit the stop button. We don't want to actually contaminate the start button with what's on the gloves. When I take the board out, this chemical is not replaceable. We actually have to order it. It's very, 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 very expensive. And so I'm going to use this scraper to scrape down the majority of the chemical off of the board. The problem is that we don't want to accidentally drop the scraper into the tank, because to fish it out, we're going to be introducing quite a lot of contaminants into the sink or into the tank. So I'm going to be very careful as I try to scrape this. I'm going to hold it with my non-dominant hand and scrape with my dominant hand and have a good handle on it. This is one of those things that can go really quite horribly wrong. So I just very gently scrape down the board. Kind of tip it here on the side. This is the part I always feel my grips start to slip on. And it's not going to come completely clean. We're just trying to go for the majority. And if you're left-handed, you'd probably want to work on the other side. So if you notice, I kept my dominant hand in the position so I don't lose the scraper. Okay, so at this point now we can transfer the board over to the black tray. This now has gunk all over it. It'll need to be cleaned off, but before I do anything else, I'm going to close this tray so that we don't introduce any contaminants into that tank. We want to dry the board. So I'm going to use the hair dryer, but I want to be very careful this time not to have it to blow out of the holes yet. So I'm going to put it on low and just give it a little bit of warm air. And at this point now, the board still has a few wet spots, but that's okay. I'm going to put the board down, and I can take these off. Shop towels, and I'm going to just put some distilled water on it. And our goal is to get the large amount of ink off of the top. And again, this is just activated charcoal ink. Activated carbon ink. There's nothing hazardous in it to your skin. We're trying to keep contaminants out of the tank. But if it does get on my hands, I'll just get a black mark. So I'm not really trying to, I don't want to press into the holes. I just want to wipe this down. To improve the quality of plating in the holes, and it seems kind of a ridiculous thing to do, but we're going to go ahead and take it out of the holder here, and there may be some ink trapped in there, so we'll just kind of be careful about that. But what we've got to do is make sure that we don't have a plug of the ink in a hole. Especially these small via holes can get filled with charcoal, and so to really do that we have to agitate the holes, and we do that by whacking it. And you can see now there's actually a whole spray of charcoal that came out of the board, out of the holes, that wasn't there before. So now we'll give it one more good drying cycle. So at this point the board needs one more visual inspection. We hold it up to the light, but make sure that there's no plugs. I can see through all the holes, looks good. And so now we're ready for the actual plating process. So this time we're going to get the holder. One more thing about the whacking, don't whack with the holder on, because these little nylon screws will just snap right off, and that would be a problem. Alright, so we hold the board into the holder. Inspect this to make sure that there's no corrosion that would interfere with the plating process. I can see metal on both sides. Tighten these brass thumb screws. Probably should use gloves as well. So now that we're in, there's really no danger of splashing. This end gets plugged into the unit and it will snap in. The reason why we want to make sure we have face protection is if you put the board in and maybe the board slips out of the holes, it could splash you in the face, and this is sulfuric acid. It will ruin your day. We're going to do the same thing we did on the control panel before. We go to end. So I navigate to end and I press enter, and then the escape lights up. I can go back. I choose phase 4 corresponding to tank 4, and I press enter to start. The process is going to run for a total of an hour and a half. Exactly midway through, the alarm is going to go off, and what we're going to need to do is to turn the board around 90 degrees. Because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to pick up the board, it kind of slides back. We're going to tip it so that the excess drips off. And then you walk the board around. And at that point then you can press start and let it resume its processing for the last half. About 5 minutes into the processing, it's not a bad idea to kind of inspect the board to make sure that you're actually plating. And to do that, you can use pause. So you can use the down arrow key, go to pause, and really we're just going to pick the board up, and actually we can already see that there's copper cladding happening already. I mean, even within the couple of seconds that it's been in here, you see that there's a copper color being added to the board. That's actually the plating process beginning. So we lock it in, and I use the keys here, and I go back to start and let it resume its processing. That it's done. It's been processing for about an hour and a half. I'm ready now to take the board out of the 4th tank, and at this point we'll be able to rinse it off and get rid of the residue of the dangerous fluid. So I'm in the safety gear. I have the splash mask, or your safety goggles. I have gloves to protect my hands. I have the smock to protect my clothes. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the board out. I'll let it drip off, and I'll transfer it. But once the shield's down, I can't really talk. So, be a minute. So at this point the board is clean. There should be no residue of the acid. We'll just finish cleaning up the equipment. Pull off the thumb screws. Rinse this part off. It can go into the sink. Hands are dry. The black pan may have picked up some of the residue. That out and let it dry. Close up the tank. the gloves.